गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं मवामहे कविं कवीनाम् उपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनशृण्वन्नोदिपस्सीदसादनं श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजीवती धीनामवित्र्यवतु महासरस्वत्यै नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। गुरुवे सर्वलोकानां विषये भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मिन् गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। देवीं वाचमजनयन्त देवाः तां विश्वरूपा पशवो वदन्ति सा नो मन्दिरेषु मूर्जन्दुहाना धेनुर्वागस्मानुपतिष्ठितैतु व्यासं वसिष्ठदत्तारं शक्तेः पौत्रमकल्मषं पराशरात्मजं वन्दे शुकदातं तपोनिधिं व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मनिधये वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। शिवशक्तिसमारम्भां भास्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मत्श्रीनाथपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रीलतामहात्रिपुरसुन्दरी समेत श्रीचन्द्रमौळीश्वराय नमः। श्रीकाञ्चीकामकोटिपीठाधिपतिजगद्गुरु श्रीशङ्कराचार्य श्रीचरणयोः प्रणामाः. So let's get started on the mantra. We finished, I've shared the screenshot just in case you are not able to access the old one. I've shared the screenshot. So we will go with the mantra Hiranmaye Pare Koshe. Okay, so Hiranmaye Pare Koshe Virajam Brahma Nishkalam Tachubram Jyotisham Jyotis Tadyadatma Vido Viduhu. Once again, Hiranmaye Pare Koshe Virajam Brahma Nishkalam Tachubram. Sanjay, we just started. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The mantra is Hiranmaye Pare Koshe. Tachubram Jyotisham Jyotis Tadyadatma Vido Viduhu. So the literal meaning by words, Hiranmaye means golden, Pare means the highest, Koshe in the sheath, Virajam means stainless, Nishkalam means indivisible, without parts. Brahma means the Brahman. Vartate is exists. Tat means that. Shubhram, pure. Jyotisham, of lights. Jyotihi is again light. Atma Vidah, the knower of Atman. Yat, whom. Viduhu is know. It's a very simple mantra, but very, very impactful. I will go and talk about the next one as well and give a combined explanation of both. The next one is Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kuto yamagnihi tameva bhanta manu bhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kuto yamagnihi tameva bhantamanubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. Now, the literal meanings of the words are tatra means there, suryaha is the sun, nabhati does not shine, chandra tarakam the moon and the stars. Chandra is moon, taras stars. So Chandra tarakam is the moon and the stars. Cha na means and not. Imaha these, vidyutah the lightnings. Again, nabhanti means does not shine. Ayam this. Agnihi is the fire. Kutaha how. Tat prakashayeyuhu would illuminate that. Tam means that. Bhantam having shown. Evam verily. Sarvam all. Anubhati shines after. Tasya his. Bhasa by light. Idam this. Sarvam is all. Vibhati is shine. So let's complete the commentary on the second mantra, then we'll come back to the first mantra. In short, the second mantra says, the sun shines. We all know that. The sun shines, and therefore the moon and the stars, based on the light from the sun. The moon and the stars don't shine by themselves. So it's the radiance from the sun that causes the moon and the stars to light up. Even the lightnings do not shine on their own. If that is the case, how can the fire, the Agni that we say has got the heat and the light, how can this fire shine by itself? So, bottom line, everything shines because of the sunshine, and the sun also shines because of the radiance from the Brahman. So, everything is the source is Him, and all these components get the light and the heat from Him, and they start reflecting on each other. So, if you take that to human, in the light of intelligence of the Atman that really illuminates all. Within our body, it is the Atman. The Atman illuminates everything in our body and makes everything possible for comprehension. So, when you are able to look at things and understand things, comprehend things, and directionally you are able to orient yourself where you are, what you are, you go to sleep, you get up, and you know where you left off, where you start. All of this is possible only because of the illumination or the radiance of the Atman, which is the self. Now, we will have to keep track of two things. Atman self is one part, then consciousness is the second. And when we talk of intellect, we need to be able to differentiate these terms properly and understand the connections. So, when we say there were so many luminaries, right, there are great people that have existed on this planet Earth, even their intelligence is because of the Atman radiating from within. if you take that intellect part of it, if you take that luminous capability of the Atman out, what will be left is only gross and material. Can anyone say, when we talk of gross and material in a human, what are we referring to?
Do you mean Stula Sharira?
Correct. Yeah. So maybe Sonalji, if you want to just get the camera a little lower, because again, it's only your forehead and half. That's good. That's good. So I hope this mantra was very simple and short and sweet. That is why I wanted to knock off that. And when you talk of again the sheath, the mantra, previous mantra, which we started with Hiranmaye, is dealing with all the sheaths. So I felt it is easy to first talk about the next one and then go back one step. So mantra number 10 is primarily saying everything, the source is Brahman. From the Brahman, sun gets the light, from the sun, the stars and the moon. And from there, the fire. From the fire, we get our uh, source of energy. So everything is because of him ultimately. Okay. So now going back to the previous mantra, talking about Hiranmaye Pare Koshe, Virajam Brahma Nishkalam, Tachubram Jyotisham Jyotis Tadyadat Vido Viduhu. Here, the concept is again going back to the sheets. Do you all remember that we talked about sheets in one of the class? Do you remember how many sheets we have?
Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Avijnanamaya, and Anandmaya.
Perfect. Super. So, likewise, there are three bodies. Do you remember them?
Stula, Shukshma, and Karana.
Correct. Fantastic. How many chakras?
Ideally 7 that we know of.
Correct.
But maybe more.
Correct. So, these are different aspects of a body, of a human, right? We shouldn't get mixed up with one another. So, I will go into that detail one more time today and then try to explain the connection. So then you will understand the importance of various concepts that we keep talking about in its own way individually. Okay. So here what we say is the supreme effulgent sheath. Effulgent means illuminating. Effulgence is radiance or illumination. The effulgent sheath rests the stainless transcendental Brahman. You transcend or transcendental Brahman is resting on the effulgent sheath. And that is very, very pure. Shubhram is pure, right? That sheath is very pure, and that is the light of all, the source of all. And only knowers of Atman will know this. Those who don't understand what is Atman, what is consciousness, etc., they will not know this. So, for you to understand this, you have to know what is the concept of Atman. What is Atman is self, right? So, the effulgent sheath is the heart wherein dwells the buddhi. Now, again, as I said, don't go by the words in the literal sense. Heart means the physical organ, etc. In the heart, wherein dwells the buddhi that illuminates all. Without the buddhi or the intellect, none of us will be able to do anything that we are talking about. Right? In buddhi itself, the Vijnanamaya Kosha is there, which is again effulgent with intelligence. Now, why is it called a sheath? That is something that you need to know. We talk about all the sheaths, etc., etc. Why it is called a sheath? A sheath is a cover, like a sword as a sheath, right? So it's a cover. So this sheath is covering the Atman. That is the most important aspect that you need to understand. Correct? So, what we are saying here is the pure, partless Brahman, meaning the Brahman doesn't have hands, legs, head, ears, and so on and so forth. There are no parts. It is partless. It's indivisible. He's encased, as it were, in a great golden sheath of intellect, which is a Vijnanamaya Kosha. This pure being is the light of lights, is the source of all lights. And only those who have realized the self will know about it. That means when you really do achieve self realization, is when you will truly understand all of this. Until then, you will have knowledge of this, but you may not have the experience or realization. So, the intellect is the seed of the highest empirical knowledge. If you go to the class where we have talked about mind, intellect, manas, you can play the YouTube again. You'll be able to connect all the dots then. So my intellect is the seed of the highest empirical knowledge, and therefore it is nearest to the consciousness of Brahman. It is the sheath which manifests what we call as Brahma Chaitanya in the greatest degree. Now, the important aspect here is this sheath is characterized by Sattva Guna, and that is why the color is said to be golden. Again, I repeat, it is characterized by Sattva Guna, and therefore it is said to be golden. Because of the Sattva Guna that is present, the human being has consciousness in him, even in the individualized condition. But the intellect, yeah.
Sorry. So this, if the buddhi is in the Vijnanamaya Kosha, and then you told us that the Sukshma Sharira has the not Sukshma Sharira, but the Chitta, the Buddhi, the Chitta, the Mana, and the Ahamkar.
Correct.
That's
I'm coming exactly to that. As if I read your mind, that is the detail I'm going to go into. So logical, right? So I'm glad you're asking that question. So just hold your thoughts for about 5 minutes or so, and then we'll be touching upon that in much more detail. So we said that because of the sattva guna that is present, the sheath is golden, right? The intellect is also characterized by rajas, and hence its consciousness is always objective. So the objectivity belongs to the rajas in the intellect, and the consciousness in it belongs to Brahman, which is behind the intellect. So the intellect and the consciousness are two different elements, where the consciousness is behind the intellect. And the intellect is the pointer to the existence of Brahman. Now, when we keep talking about, you meditate, meditation is practiced through the aid of the function of the intellect. I will repeat this sentence one more time and take your time to soak it in. And after the class, play the YouTube again, maybe, then dwell on this sentence. Meditation is practiced through the aid of the function of the intellect. It is made possible because of the consciousness or sattva that is in it. And meditation is made necessary because of the rajas or the rajoguna in it, which dissipates energy and impedes real knowledge. So these two sentences, please rewind and replay over and over again, and make sure that you understand it, because that will be the foundation for everything that I'm going to talk later. Meditation is made possible because of the consciousness or the sattva that is in it, and meditation is made necessary because of the rajas that is in it, which dissipates energy and impedes real knowledge. The Atman is realized through the intellect. Remember the lower level of knowledge and the higher level of knowledge. Sage Angirasa told very clearly, you can't just bypass everything and say, okay, let me just talk to the higher level of knowledge. Unless you get the lower level of knowledge, you can't go to the higher level of knowledge. Anytime you talk about the lower level of knowledge, you're talking about experiences. For experience, we need the mind, the intellect, and the ahankara, I. These three key elements are required. Imagine the description I had given, like a CD reader with a disk, right? So Atman is realized through the intellect by transcending the intellect. You have to go beyond that intellect. If you just stick to the intellect, you're going to be stuck with that ahankara and saying, I created this, I created that. It's all because of me. I did the puja. I created the iPhone. I created the iPad. I poured water and the tree is there because of me. We stop at that. But you have to transcend the intellect to realize the Atman or self. So Brahman is said to be manifest in the intellect. So this Atman is known by those who follow the course of natural essential consciousness within through the withdrawal of the senses and the mind. So again, go back to the reference in one of the class, or maybe several classes, where I said the modern day people who call themselves as liberals or progressives or scientists, their knowledge is restricted by the five sensory organs. Our system teaches us to transcend that understanding of the world beyond the five sensory organs. Do you remember, or you have forgotten that? If you have, then again, it would be a good time to revise and watch all the videos one more time. So the Atman is known by those who go beyond this boundary of knowledge, which is achieved through the senses or sensory organs. The mind and the senses constitute the world of darkness. Darkness is again avidya, or lack of knowledge, ignorance. It gets illuminated only with the Atman, the self. And that is why, if you again remember, you will be going through the forest and suddenly you will see light equal to 1,000 suns. The whole concept is explained in different ways in different places in the system, in our scriptures. But if you pay attention, they're all talking about the same thing, right? So the whole universe appears to have consciousness and light, because the universe, which is truly the region of darkness, reflects the consciousness and the light of the Brahman. Even the greatest light of the universe and the greatest consciousness manifest in it are only a borrowed reflection of Brahman. So now you're able to connect everything from sensory organs to back to mind, intellect, self, and from self to the Brahman. Right? Brahman is not known by those who are busy with the universe of darkness. So if you restrict yourself, no, show me the proof, show me this, show me that, then you're restricting yourself and you're not going to be reaching the goal of self realization and understanding of Atman. So this is in short what mantra number 9 and 10 say. And now, which I told you about the details of the 3 bodies and the 5 koshas. Right? So first we will attack the koshas, and then we will go to the 3 bodies. And chakra we can talk about some other time. So what are the koshas? The koshas are located within the 3 bodies. So it's not like 3 bodies are separate, koshas are separate, the chakras are separate. That is the first point we need to understand. Correct? Sonalji, so far so good?
Yes.
Understand? The 3 bodies are the main thing. Within the 3 bodies, we are talking about different aspects. So the koshas are within the 3 bodies. So the koshas are called koshas or sheath because they are the 5 layers that encase the pure consciousness. The consciousness is pure, the Atman is pure, consciousness is the Purusha, or the self is the Atman. They are very pure by itself. It is covered by these layers. So first is the Annamaya Kosha, which is the food sheath. Annam is food. So Annamaya Kosha is food sheath. Here also, those who are interested and want to be technically correct, the word is food, Food. Indians have a tendency to say food. It is not Fudd. So food, Annamaya Kosha. The next is Pranamaya Kosha, sheath of prana or life. Manomaya Kosha, the mind sheath. Then comes the Vijnanamaya Kosha, knowledge of wisdom sheath. And finally, the Anandamaya Kosha, the bliss sheath. We also talked in detail many a time about happiness and bliss, the difference between the two. So, in effect, the 5 koshas act like a roadmap for our journey of self discovery. What is this entire Mundaka Upanishad explaining? How to discover self, how to discover Atman, which is within, self realization. So, if you understand these 5 sheets, if you understand these 3 bodies and 7 chakras, then you have a clear roadmap to self discovery. So, you don't jump from one to the other like a long jump. You go gradually from one to the next to the next, because each one of these are prerequisites for the next. So the food sheath or the Annamaya Kosha is the outermost layer, and that is the physical body made of matter. Physical body which is made of matter means skin, bones, muscles, organs and other tissues. This kosha is responsible for our basic survival needs. If you don't eat food for days, you're going to starve and die. If you don't breathe, you're going to die. Right? So, if you don't excrete, you're going to die. So, as much as you take oxygen inside your body, you need to, throw out the carbon dioxide. Any idea what will happen if more carbon dioxide is retained in the body? Never thought about it, right? Assume you take more and more oxygen. Fine, oxygen is being sent to every single tissue in the body. But if the carbon dioxide is not thrown out, the first thing will start is hitchki. So pay some attention to that and think about it. What will happen if the carbon dioxide doesn't go out? So this whole system that is there is very important for survival. So food, water, and shelter, all of these things are survival needs. And it is through the Annamaya Kosha that we experience the physical world and interact with the natural environment around us. Next is the Pranamaya Kosha, vital sheath. It is the energy sheath of the body. Don't confuse this energy with the Shat Chakra part. So this sheath is made of the five major pranas, and it helps in the flow of energy throughout the body. Do any one of you remember the various pranas that we talked about and their locations?
Prana, Apana, Udana, Samana, Vyana.
Correct.
So
And I hope
the
you
top,
also,
like
I hope you also remember where these things are. Correct. So as and when you learn these things, you must also attach it to the locations of these things. So pranamaya plays an important part in the vital functions for us to stay alive. The first one is survival. Second is staying alive. So that is why when you see uh, all of these pranas shut down, you say you're dead. The human being is dead. So key elements of pranamaya kosha is breathing, digestion, and circulation. Right? So the blood carries a lot of nutrients as well as oxygen. Oxygen is taken in through the lungs, nutrients through the process of digestion, goes into the bloodstream. Through the blood, it reaches every single cell in the body. Manomaya kosha, which is the mental sheath. This is the sheath that consists of our feelings, thoughts, emotions, memory, and imagination. I repeat, it consists of our feelings, thoughts, emotions, memory, and imagination. This kosha is responsible for our cognitive functions. As you age, this is the one that gets impacted the most. So you need to keep this sheath very fit and active. So the key cognitive functions are memory, perception, and reasoning. So through what you see, through the senses, you take pictures. Like we talked about all the five senses giving the various inputs, audio, video inputs. In the brain, all those things, images are stored and it's read like a CD, converted to a movie, which you call it as experience. And you process this experience for future behavior. How you say, how you talk, what you do, what you don't do, and how you react, and so on and so forth. So we process our experience and emotions in this mental sheath, Manomaya Kosha. So again, these are distinctive sheaths because your feelings and emotions don't get into the blood, which is the physical part, correct? So they are individual sheaths. After Manomaya is Vijnanamaya Kosha, or the intellectual sheath, meaning knowledge or wisdom. So when you gather all the data, which is processed with the help of Ahankara, it becomes your experience, and you process your experience That becomes your knowledge. Through the knowledge, you gain wisdom. So Vijnanamaya is the sheath that sets human beings apart from animals. Up until that point, humans and animals are common. Whatever we discuss so far, they also have it, including feelings, emotions, etc. The Vijnanamaya Kosha is what differentiates humans from animals. While both humans and animals can experience emotions and deep connections, only human beings have the ability, intellectual ability, to determine the right from the wrong, dharma and adharma, and what is illusory and what is eternal. Coming back to the same iPhone. If you see, I've got now iPhone 15. So my iPhone 14 has already lost its life with me within 1 year. So if I kept fighting for that iPhone 14, as if it is the eternal truth, then I'm not knowledgeable enough. So anything that you talk of creation, taking credit for all that stuff is temporary, illusory. And all of this will appear completely Maya when you realize the self. So that differentiation is possible only in humans. Our intellect or intuition and inner wisdom are all part of Vijnanamaya Kosha, and it makes it a key factor in our spiritual growth and development. And this is the kosha where we connect with our innermost self and experience a sense of unity with the universe. So as you go deeper, you are able to see the connection with the universe. When we say Atman is the Jivatman, and how the Jivatma connects with the Paramatma. Now, last one is the Anandamaya Kosha, which is the blissful sheath. It is the finest and the thinnest veil covering the Atman. It's also known as the level of the soul. The blissful sheath is what allows us to feel joy, love, and happiness. It is also responsible for our spiritual contentment and liberation. And that is where we experience our interconnections with all the things. So, now the next question we talked about, and I promised you, is how to transcend these koshas one after the other. So, all of these five koshas are mentioned in the earliest Sanskrit text, the Taittiriya Upanishad, which teaches us the goal of a human life is to transcend the five koshas and realize the true nature of the self, which is beyond the layers of existence. So, only by diving into these three bodies into greater detail and peeling away the koshas, we can find our true nature and access the deeper level of consciousness and realization. So, Annamaya Kosha, let us come back to that. To transcend the Annamaya Kosha means you understand that you are more than your body can move beyond the physical body's limitations. So, you start doing proper asana practice and follow a proper diet. You can transcend the Annamaya Kosha. Pranamaya Kosha is to understand that you are more than your energies. And you can transcend this through regular pranayama. Through regular pranayama, you will be able to develop greater awareness of the breath and subtle energy of the body. So, this is what helps you in understanding the connection between the physical, mental, and spiritual aspects of your being. It also helps you calm the mind, reduce the stress and anxiety, and improve overall health and well being. Am I going too fast? Okay. Manomaya Kosha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanted to ask something.
Yeah.
Does it have any correlation with Maslow's theory? Or it is
Maslow's theory is a model built on these concepts. And that's why you see food, clothing, and shelter is at the lowest.
Yeah.
Annamaya Kosha. Yeah.
But there are some differences as well. I mean, in between the pranamaya and other things. But at the same time, the highest level of bliss or happiness, that has something to do with some achievement, at the top of Maslow's theory, you have the achievement. So probably, I was just thinking that there's an example of Madame Curie, that she didn't care much for the first six, but she worked for the highest requirement of, continuing with her research and finding out what she wanted to do. So the passion actually took her above all these needs of food, clothing, shelter, all those things to the highest level, which was her passion. So I was just wondering whether it has any connection with.
It has a connection or a similarity only to the extent of what you said. And to hit the nail on the head, the difference is they don't believe in soul. We believe in soul.
Yeah.
That whole concept of Atman, it doesn't exist in the Western philosophy. So they talk about emotions, they talk about mind, they talk about everything else, but they don't go beyond that because they don't believe in a concept of soul. So
Yeah.
you can achieve happiness and bliss through service is the concept that you will see from them.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Or
if
forego everything if you want to achieve something. These things don't matter at all. They are immaterial, but do what is passionate.
correct,
And that gives some sort of an achievement and happiness. Yeah.
correct. So I am too insignificant to comment on the greatness of many people, but in my own sweet little world, the difference, if I have to ask those questions and answer those questions, is if you go pursue the path of knowledge, what Mundaka-Upanishat teaches you, a person like me with a walnut brain that I have can probably influence or motivate 100 people that are hearing this class or watching the YouTube. Whereas a path that goes purely based on saying, oh, Madame Curie did or Mother Teresa did, and see, they achieved sainthood through path of selflessness and service, there are only a handful that you can talk about. So the difference between the two philosophies, I believe, is knowledge.
Yes.
And the connections. So if I have to follow the path of Madame Curie, I have to start with a blind faith that, yeah, she achieved it, so I will also achieve it. And you must have the courage and the commitment to be able to follow that path. Not everybody can do it. There is only one Bill Gates or one Mother Teresa and one Madame Curie.
Yes.
Whereas our system says every human being that is born is capable and has the right to self-realization. And we are defining the whole thing through a maximum of 7 rebirths and the concept of soul, which is something that they refuse to believe and accept. They don't believe in rebirth, they don't believe in soul. For them, it is all the Stula Sharira and Sukshma Sharira. They don't believe in Karana Sharira. So, did I respond to your question?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I actually am just thinking. I have some more questions, but you can carry on.
I'll just finish the 2 more and then we can open up for questions. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No issues. I can even ask in the next
Okay.
No problem. Yeah.
So, Manomaya Kosha is to transcend that, you have to practice Yama and Niyama. And that is what you talked about right now. Engaging in selfless service, it can help you transcend the Manomaya Kosha and help you reach more profound levels of consciousness. And the reason for this is it will garner a greater sense of inner peace, compassion, and unity with yourself and others. So, if you take the Maslow's theory again, when you talk of self realization as the ultimate level, prior to that, it is about getting happiness from the happiness of others. Happiness of yourself is not important. If I see the starving, maybe person on the streets, homeless person on the street, and if that person says, "Wow, I'm full," you derive happiness through that. So you are deriving happiness and you're able to connect yourself with the other person. And that is achieved through compassion. Vijnanamaya Kosha is about transcending that kosha, means you understand you're more than your intellect and your capability to analyze. The study of scriptures, right inquiry into who am I, and meditation. They are the most common methods to penetrate and reach past the Vijnanamaya Kosha. So you study the scriptures, understand all of these concepts that you're doing today, and studying of the Mundaka-Upanishad is one of the key thing that you're talking about. Practicing self-inquiry, asking questions about who am I, what am I, enables us to cultivate that wisdom and understand the nature of reality and purpose of existence. And I keep saying this to even people in normal conversation, even in my counseling sessions. The moment you start judging other person, the moment you start questioning the existence of somebody else, making discriminatory comments like, hey, you are a kid, you're a woman, those things are like you're practically questioning God's will. In God's ecosystem, the kid or the woman or the man, they are all equal. Right? So, if you understand the purpose of existence, you can use meditation as a powerful tool to quiet the intellect. Again, connect it to one other sentence that I keep saying. You need to have knowledge of things that is relevant to you. So anytime the mind goes out of control and says, I need to know about this also, and this also, and this also, can actually disturb your balance, disturb the inner peace, because the more knowledge you have, the more responsibility you have. Sometimes it is better to be ignorant of certain things so that you can focus on what you're supposed to do and not get distracted. So, meditation is a powerful tool to quiet the intellect and travel beyond the limitations of physical body and mind. Anandamaya Kosha is samadhi, is the effective way to transcend the Anandamaya Kosha. So, samadhi is a state of deep meditation in which you become completely absorbed in the self and experience a state of pure consciousness. So, can anybody give a one-line explanation of what samadhi means?
It is something like it is a union with some higher power, and our body, our existence is nullified. In a sense, it becomes a void. You're sort of merging with some higher
Correct.
power.
Correct. But for that to achieve that, what is it that we need to do? So dissect the word itself. Sama means balance. So if you are able to balance joy and sorrow, if you're able to balance tikha and meetha, if you're able to balance, uh, uh, you know, being rich and wealthy versus poor, if you're able to strike that balance, then you are getting into a highly evolved state. So you can't say, I want always sweet in my life, or I want always success in my life. That one sided story is not feasible, doesn't exist. And if you are looking for it, then you are chasing a never ending goal, something that doesn't exist. So if you have sorrows, you're going to have happiness, if you have, and vice versa. And when you develop your mind to understand and realize that, you are in the path of self realization. Instead, if you start getting distracted and start putting too much attention and focus into all of these things, you're going to get lost. So, in our regular day-to-day life, we can say that, yeah, I'm going to stay balanced when I hit a jackpot, and I'm going to stay balanced when I lose all that money the next day. That's a very simple way of saying it. But into the higher levels, where you have to say, I have to understand and realize self, realize the Atman, you need to do that in a much deeper scale of meditation and calming down of all your sheets, which we talked about. Then only you will be literally close to self realization. Got it? So, a quick revision of the five pranas. Udana prana refers to the energy of the vital force situated above the heart. That is the Udana. It controls the bodily processes in the region like the brain, eyes, nose, hands. So we get the Udana prana from the element space. Space element lies above the air in our atmosphere. So when the sky is clear, we absorb more of the space element. The prana is in the region of the heart and is responsible for regulating the heartbeat. So if you're talking of a healthy heart, you can thank the prana. And we get this through the air element. And hence, through the practice of pranayama, you can learn to control your breath and improve the flow of prana to the heart. This can promote a lot of cardiovascular health and emotional well being. Samana prana is the vital force responsible for facilitating digestion and metabolism in the human body. We get it from the sun and physical exercise. Samana is located in the solar plexus, in the Nabhi area. Four finger breadths above the navel or the Nabhi and just below the rib cage. Vyana prana is an essential force of circulation and movement. It is responsible for the circulation of blood and other body fluids throughout the body. So we get this prana from water, which is crucial for maintaining the fluid balance in the body. Vyana is located three fingers below the Nabhi. And we need to have a good circulation. And it is also the reason why I keep telling people all components are important. While you do the physical exercise on a treadmill or a cycle or a elliptical, etc., you also need to do pranayama. You also need to have frequent massages like acupressure. Get yourself massaged from head to toe periodically. And what that acupressure or the massage does is ties the knot that happens in your body. Like I keep sitting on this chair for a long time, you're going to have a lot of knots getting developed in the back of the body. So you need to do the massaging or the pressure to release those knots, to allow free circulation of the blood and bodily fluids. Then apana prana is the force of excretion, which is why I said if carbon dioxide remains in your body, it's not good. Likewise, if your body has filtered all the waste and the toxins, they need to be removed from the body. So you can get apana by consuming earthy foods, root vegetables, grains, and so on and so forth. And it is located in the pelvic region. Obviously, that is where the kidney, the large intestine, and everything is there. So it includes the lower abdomen, hips, and the reproductive organs. So when you talk of excretion and elimination of toxins, release of carbon dioxide is one, stools is another, and third is the semen and the menstrual fluid. So I think with this I will stop. If there are questions, if you want to ask, we can discuss that. And if somebody is under time pressure, they can sign off. I'm fine with it. Did this answer a lot of your question that you were about to ask, Sonalji?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to ask you, please, if I may. When you said that the final, the thinnest veil is around. You said it had the thinnest veil. Yeah, Anandamaya Kosha is the thinnest veil. Is that like the veil of Maya, like the Avarna Shakti or the Vijnana?
No, you transcend the Vijnanamaya Kosha to go to Anandamaya Kosha. So when you are transcending that, the veil that you land into Anandamaya Kosha is very thin. It is not like in Anandamaya Kosha you have to do a lot of work. So you have fulfilled all the prerequisites of knowledge, experience, understanding what is eternal, what is illusory, etc., etc. And then you practice meditation, you get knowledge, you transcend the Vijnanamaya Kosha, where you stop analyzing things, everything. The problem is the limiting factor is the analysis. We need the analytical capability, but if you overuse that, it is going to be making you restricted. So how do we follow the path of spirituality in our system? It is by saying, I believe there is something called Anandamaya Kosha or Vijnanamaya Kosha, and I am in search of the truth, and by educating myself. What is being true, totally analytical, over analytical is show me proof. And you start putting the data points that you gather through your five senses as the ultimate factor. Show me proof. Show me that this works. Show me that I got cured because of this Om mantra. I need clinical evidence. So you have to transcend that analytical limitations that you impose on yourself. Right? Am I making sense or is it confusing?
Yes, I understand. Okay. I'm just a bit confused where Maya comes into the.
Maya is first you start with the belief that this is all Maya, right? But when you follow this roadmap, which is what we call this, first you understand that there are five sheets, first understand that there are three bodies, understand there are seven chakras. What is that energy flow? If you understand all of these things and you implement each of those prerequisites, the end result is you will see the 1,000 lights.
Yes. Okay.
And that is when you realize it's not an experience. You realize suddenly you wake up and say, oh, okay, I thought iPad, iPhone, everything is ultimate. That diamond is ultimate. They really don't exist. You are into that whole connection with the universe, right?
Yeah.
So if I have to make you move away from this physical boundaries of this object called remote, what do? If I throw 10,000 lights at this, you won't be able to see the boundaries of this, right? The boundaries will sort of dissipate. Correct?
Yes.
So, in a very similar way, with all this knowledge and understanding the limitations of all these systems, you transcend that, is when you will say, yeah, everything is a Maya. Maya is not something physical existing out there. Maya is your going beyond your perception, going beyond your analytical capabilities, going beyond the limitations of your intellect.
Because the pranas, they, like when you see pictures, you see like their layers of around the Sthula Sharira. But actually, in reality, it's not like in layers like around it's actually sort of within and among.
So what you're doing is exactly what was told. Like you're trying to connect everything with the physical. If I have to explain to you that this prana is here, vyana is here, upana is here, how will I tell you? The easiest that you're able to relate today is the physical body. So if I tell you this is around the heart, 3 inches above the nabhi, you know where your nabhi is, you know what 3 inches are. That's the only way I can explain to you, right? So this communication is possible only through this context.
Yes.
It is for you to realize yourself what it means. It is not a definitive boundary, distinctive boundary between 1 and 2. There will be overlapping. But it is just a pictorial representation of to make you understand where it is. That's it.
Yes, I get it. Thank you.
Yeah. So anytime you put questions like that, you remind yourself that I'm putting again myself through the limitation of I need millimeters, inches, and context with the physical this thing, which is where my capability stops today. So you remove that limitation and you visualize that, yeah, it's being talked about in that region. That's good enough.
Yes.
And more important is that through what you can control what. Right? I just talked about each of those pranas, and it is controlled and connected by what element. That is more important than saying, is it oval in shape, elliptical in shape, is it 4 inches, 6 inches? That should be the answer to your question. Yeah. Anything else? Radha, you want to ask your questions now or hold off to the next?
I'll ask in the next session.
Fair enough. Sanjay, I hope you were able to listen in and.
Yes, it was very enlightening, honestly.
Okay. Good. I'm trying my best to keep it simple and in simple language, connect all the dots. The best result will happen when you start implementing this yourself. There's only so much you can get from external knowledge. The more is you start implementing these. Great. With that, we will wrap up this class. See you next time. Have a nice
Thank
week.
you very much.
Okay.
Namaste.
Namaste. Bye. Yeah, and the time changes next week.
Yeah.
So if it is 3:30 today, this class, the next class will be 4:30 for you.
Yeah.
The time difference will increase because we're rolling back the clock on Sunday. All right. Bye.